Hello, welcome to Hook Legends. Thanks for watching this video. I'm Henry, your host. Today's video, I want to give you some very important tips regarding line twists. Now, you may be having issues with twisted line, and you may be getting frustrated and not even realize that it's because of your twisted line. It's not your rod, it's not your reels, it's the process of what happens to your line. So I'm going to get into the details of all of that. Before I get into that though, I want to say thanks for all of our subscribers. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you like these videos, you like the tips, please reach up right now, click subscribe and like. Make sure you click the notification bell so you'll be alerted when future videos are released. Now, I'll be starting my bait line real soon. I actually have the bait, just waiting on a few last things to come in, and I'll start doing giveaways. So in order for you to be eligible for those giveaways, you're gonna need to be subscribed. So make sure you're subscribed, like, and click that notification bell. Okay, so the tips I'm going to give you today is dealing with line twists. You may be having issues with line twists and not even know it. If you've ever thrown your rod out, your bait out, and a big wad of line in bass fishing on bait casting, where they call it a bird's nest, or sometimes you get the double loop coming off, it's frustrating. I've had the opportunity to watch some people that were really just getting started mastering crappie fishing, and in my opinion, it's probably the top of the list for what causes the most frustration for new fishermen. Now, I've even seen new fishermen go to the point where they decided they weren't going to use spinning rod combos, because they didn't want to deal with that issue. And you really are doing yourself a disservice if you're not using spinning rods. There is no better setup for casting ultralight lures on ultralight line than a spinning outfit. So you definitely need to have it be a part of your arsenal. Okay, in this video, I'm going to tell you how to identify line twists. I'm going to tell you what causes line twists. I'm going to tell you how to prevent line twists. And I'm also going to tell you how to fix line twists after it's happened. Now, you can buy, I went out with a friend about a week or so ago, and he had bought a brand new combo rod and reel, and it came pre-spooled with line on it. And just about every other cast, he was getting what's known as a bird's nest, or a big wad of line, that was tie up, and it's just this big wad, and it wouldn't even go through the guides on his rod. So, and he had no idea what was causing these particular problems. So I've seen a lot of beginning fishermen, or even intermediate fishermen, that had very, very stressful days on the water, because of line twists. So I'm going to give you a lot of valuable tips today so that you will have much more productive and fun time when you're out on the water. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, next I want to talk to you about the top 3 causes of line twists. The number 1 cause is improper line installation. Now, I'm not going to go through and give a whole lot. I'm not going to show you a live example of how that happens, but I will take a link to another video that I did previously and show you the proper way to install your line onto the spool. Now, even if you install the line properly, that you still will have some twisted line. So but it's a precursor. It's going to get you closer to untwisted line as you can possibly get. So you definitely want to start out by installing the line properly on the spool to keep the line from getting twisted. The second thing that probably causes the most twisted situations with line is when you're pulling in a bait, whether it be a crankbait, a spinner bait, whatever. Any type of lure is almost vulnerable to twisting your line. For example, you may have a crankbait and you throw it out, you're retrieving that crankbait in. Or when you throw it out, the line maybe got hooked around a treble hook. It's happened to me a bunch. I'm winding it in, and when it gets close enough to the boat where I can see it beneath the surface, it's coming back to the boat in a spiraling motion, doing like this, right? And every revolution that makes a complete turn, you're adding a twist to your line. Once you get twist in your line, sooner or later, when there's slackness between your rod tip and the lure, it's just going to wrap around the tip of your rod. The more twist you have, the further down it's going to wrap around your rod tip, and it can be a major pain to deal with. So that's another reason for that's another way that your line actually gets twisted. Okay, probably the last on my top 3 list of why your line gets twisted. If you throw out and you're winding back in and you have a fish on it, and that fish is not actually coming closer to the boat. It's a big fish, you're fighting it, and you just steady cranking that reel, and it's turning over and over and over and over and over again. You're adding a twist. Okay, on a normal retrieve, you're going to notice that this moving part evolves around the spool. Watch as I turn it in. That's good. That means you're turning, and basically it's taking the line, it's pulling it in, and it's putting it on the spool. This is good, and it does not cause line twist. Next, in this demonstration, I'm going to actually hook the jig in this eye here, just for the purpose of this demonstration, because I want you to see what happens when your drag is slipping. So let me show you this demonstration. So now notice when I turn, notice both the spool and the outside mechanism are both turning round and around in a circle, okay? And the end isn't coming in because I have it stuck in my jig eye, okay? So whenever this is happening and you look down and you see both of them turning together, that means you're getting twisted line. You don't want twisted line. Now, I won't get into all of the details in this video. I'll probably do a separate video on how to fight a fish. You know, I pull my rod. I actually make the fish come close to the boat by pulling the rod up, and then I slowly wind back down to the fish. So I'm working that fish with my rod and not with the reel, because if that fish isn't coming in, or if your drag is too slack, you sit there and you're cranking them in. Now, I'm not suggesting you tighten up your drag, because I've caught several huge bass by accident with 4-pound test line, and the reason for that is I have my drag set properly. The drag on your reel is designed to slip so you don't break off and lose fish. So use your drag, just don't keep turning the reel when the fish isn't coming in. Be patient, take your time, okay? So those are the 3 main causes of it. And one other point I would like to make is sometimes that you may throw out and get some weed around a bait, whether it's a rooster tail or crankbait, any type of bait is acceptable to it. You may throw out, get some weed or some trash or something on it, and it's not operating the way it was designed to operate. And once again, it'll come back as you retrieve it in. It's turning, and that's adding twist to your line. So these are the causes of line twist. Now let's go on to the next step, where we show you how to identify line twist. Okay, there's a few ways. There's 3 ways you can usually identify line twist. One way is when you throw out and you give it a little bit of slackness in the line between whether you put the lure in your boat or on a dock, and you let the rod tip down and it twists around the rod. That's definitely a big sign that you have twisted line. Second method, you throw your lure out, and when you throw it out, you just get this wad of line, okay? That's another reason, that's another symptom that you may have twisted line. Now that could also mean you have too much line on the spool. So just make sure you don't put too much line on your spool also. The third way you can identify whether you have twisted line is by tying something on to your line. Let off maybe, if you're using a 6-foot rod, see if you can maybe let off 7 feet of line. Tie something onto it, lay it down on something flat. Lift the rod tip up. If you see the bait spinning 4, 5, or more than 6 times, your line was twisted, and that's just in a 6 or 7 foot section, okay? That just gives you an example of how many more twists you have in that line within a 30 or 40 foot stretch of it. Okay, next guys, I'm going to share with you one of my biggest secrets for managing line twist. You see that? It's a piece of lead with a swivel on it. Now, this particular method is this isn't actually my primary method, but this particular method does a very good job of removing line twist. And it's very simple. Once you have followed the previous steps, such as making sure you spool it properly, on putting your line on the spool, then once you're out though, let's say you made a cast with a crankbait or something, and it got some weed on it, and it corkscrewed, and you have line twist. This piece of lead with this swivel will help remove that. Now I'm going to walk over here to the edge of the dock, and I'm going to make a couple of casts, and I'm going to tell you what I do and how to get this twisted line out of here. And by the way, this particular method works both by casting this out on land or in the water. I use it both ways. When I'm at home, I throw it out across the yard, and I'll retrieve it back in using the method that I'm about to show you. And what happens is, every time you give this, I'm going to pretty much cast it out and jerk it back in like I'm jigging a crappie jig, right? And every time that line goes slack, it gives this swivel an opportunity to unwind, to help you remove your line twist. So I'm going to throw it out there and show you. When you throw it out, if it keeps turning and twisting more than 4 or 5 times, I throw it back out there and I do it again. Sometimes I might have to do this 5, 6, or 7 times, you know, but it's easy. Whether you're in a boat, standing on a dock, or you're in your yard, throw it out, and this is how you can get rid of the line twist real quick. So I'm going to toss this one out 1 or 2 more times. So now, when I lift it up, you see it's barely moving. See that? It is barely moving. That's what you want. When you lift it up and it's barely moving like that, you have pretty much eliminated all the twist in your line, and you're ready to go out and have a fun day. Let's move on to another method of how to remove line twists. Okay guys, I'm finna show you another method of how to remove the twist from your line. Now this method is probably the one I use most of the time because I normally maintain my equipment before I come out on the water. Okay, so most of the time I'm at home, I'm in my yard, and I remove the line twist there. So this method is going to involve, I'm going to release the bail on the spinning reel so the line flows off freely, and then I'm going to re-engage. I'm going to pull it off of maybe 40 or 50 feet, and then I'm going to re-engage the bail on the spinning reel, and then I'm going to hold the line firmly between my fingers, and ideally you want to use a piece of cloth or something. Unfortunately, I got my piece of cloth covering the back of this microphone so we don't have any wind noise. I'm down here on my dock at the lake today, so the wind's blowing pretty hard. I need my piece of cloth to stay on the back of this microphone, but I'm going to hold it and I'm going to walk out to the end. I'm probably going to do this a little bit in reverse so that you can see the end of the line and hopefully actually see some of the line untwisting when I get out here on this end. So I'm going to put my reel that way down on the end of this catwalk, this boardwalk, and I'm going to bring the line over here. Then I'm going to go back over there and pull it between my fingers to get the twist out of the line. So let's go ahead and let me show you a demonstration of that. Okay, so I just took the fishing line. My reeling rod is way down there on the catwalk. I just took the line and pulled it all the way here with no lure on the end. Now I'm going to walk back down there, re-engage it so that the line will not come off. I'm going to hold that line snugly between my fingers, and like I said, ideally normally you want to use some soft paper towel or something to hold it firmly, because what you want to do is you want the line to not be twisted between the rod tip and your finger, so you got to hold it firmly. The closer you get to the end of the line, all of those twists are going to come out. So let me go down and I'm going to do that one time and come back. Whoop, I dropped it. Okay. And you see guys, this, and you may need to do this several times in order to remove the twist from the line, but this works great. You can do it anywhere. You don't have to be out in the water. You don't have to be in the boat. You can do this right in the comfort of your front or your backyard. So that's the next method of how to remove line twists. Now after I've walked from my rod tip out to the end of that line 2 or 3 times and remove most of the line twists, I always take a towel or something, wrap it around the line, and just kind of hold my hand here firmly to the rod with that line inside of the towel, and then I wind it in and I hold it pretty firmly, because once again you can see the line just untwisting as you do that. So make sure when you put it back on the spool from, after you walk it off, that last step is to do that. Now sometimes I do that 2, 3, maybe 4 times. So once again, that's another method that I use. Probably the method I use most of the time because I'm at home. So sand fly. That's the method that I use most of the time when I'm at home. Let's move on to the final method. Okay, now I'm going to show you the final and maybe perhaps the most efficient and effective method for removing line twists. Now I'm out here in the boat. We're going on a field trip today. So I'm out here in the boat, and what I'm going to do is I don't have a lure. I don't have a lure on the line. And the line, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just kind of dangling free. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to pull off maybe 7 or 8 feet. And I'm going to throw it out there in the water. Okay, let it get wet a little bit. Then what I'm going to do as the boat, see that? Okay, as the boat is moving, I just keep pulling. You see the line coming off of there? See that? The line is actually coming off because the line that's in the water is wet. And I'm just going to keep doing this. Guys, I see some beds. I'm having a hard time concentrating. I see some fish beds here and I smell the fish. But anyway, I'm going to let off maybe 40 or 50 feet. So it's probably about 20 feet back there right now. And I'm just going to let my trolling motor, you know, ease me on out across the lake. So when you're moving from one fishing location to the next fishing location, this is a method that you can always, even if you're not having issues, maybe at the first sign that you're having line twist problems, go ahead. I mean, go ahead and start removing your line twists. I mean, that's called maintenance. Maintenance is dealing with your issues before they become big problems. So let's keep doing that. Now, this, in my opinion, appears to get rid of about 99.99 or 100% of the line twist. So this is by far my most effective method. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Now I'm going to guess I got maybe 30-40 feet out there. So I'm going to go ahead now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to re-engage this spool. I'm not sure if I said that, but I flipped the bail so the line would just free spool off. And that's what you want to do. You want the line to free spool off of here while you just jerk it. And then once the boat moves, it's going to take up that slack, and you just keep doing it over and over again until you get out 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever. I mean, however many. If you want to do 100 feet while you're out, you got a day you're not really fishing, you just want to maintain your line, through the whole spool. Okay? And then you're just going to, as you move, just jerk it every now and then. Since there's no lure tied to the end of the line, there's no resistance. So when you're pulling it, if there's any twist in the line whatsoever, it's going to come out, you know. So just do this for a little while. It doesn't really take long, but if you got time, you know, this will also help a lot because the line is getting soaked in the water. It's going to help with some of your memory, the memory that you have in the line. So once I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to wind it in, and just about 100% of the line twist will be gone. So look, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. So this is what you want to have. All right, so that concludes today's video. Remember, if you like these videos and these tips, make sure you click subscribe and like. Make sure you click notification bell so you'll be alerted when future videos are released. Now make sure you subscribe, because remember, the bait that's going to be available, the crappie jigs available, the grubs on the website, you know, in order to be eligible for some of those giveaways that I'm going to be doing, you need to be a subscribed Hook Legends family member. Thanks for watching Hook Legends. We got a nice one here. One nice crappie to go in the cooler.